All right, folks, we're getting started. Uh, I'll monitor the attendees list for you. We got one attendee so far. So welcome everyone, and welcome to the next week of our San Diego City College Campus Ready Forum. And we're definitely excited that you all are here. Thank you to the folks that are trickling in. We'll definitely leave a little bit of time for folks to jump in so we can get started, but I definitely wanted to welcome you all. If you can, if you do have any questions, any comments, anything you would like to know from our panel here today, please drop them in the chat and we will monitor it and we will relay the message to the folks here on the panel. So again, we would like to thank you for being here this afternoon officially at 12:09, and we just want to thank you all for being here. And again, if you have any questions, anything you would like to know from us today, we will definitely love for you to drop it in the chat. But I would like to welcome all our panelists today here. Thank you so much for everyone being here. We definitely appreciate it. Did anyone want to do an opening address to greet anyone? Tilly, John, did we want to do an opening address, and then we can move on to questions?
Welcome, everyone. Another exciting week here at San Diego City College. And so many things are changing. I mean, my mind, my head is just spinning. If you can't see it, but it's spinning in there of so many things and how-tos and how do we get to them, and try to get to your questions as well. If you haven't also had the opportunity this last week, we had College Council. The VPs, Caesar, we all went through the reopen plan that we've been sharing with our managers recently. And again, please note that these things will change on a minute by minute basis, but at least we're trying to give you as much information as we can. And so if you have the opportunity, go back and visit that video as well. There is some great information. If not, we try to cover it. I'm just trying to be very careful to not repeat things over and over and over that people then shut it out and don't want to hear it. But those are just some real basic things I just wanted to share. I will come back and share a few more things about instruction and reopening. But John, did you have anything, or Caesar?
Well, it's interesting to your point, fear of being repetitive. And in some instances, I feel that we cannot over communicate. But look, for some people, there may be COVID and reopen burnout. I do understand. We just really want to get the word out in terms of our reopen plan, first fund requests, reopening COVID requirements, because you and I and many of us here on the panel are sitting in various higher level meetings, and we communicated to our constituency groups and various committees and task force. And oftentimes I can't recall who we communicated with or who we did not communicate with. So I like to err on the side of conservatism and caution, and in some cases, maybe not all, to over communicate as much as we can. And in some cases, when I feel like we're over communicating, we still receive great questions, wonderful questions and follow-ups and clarification on our information. So good job to everyone. Tilly, did you just want me to kick it off and get into the HERF funds first?
I think sure, and I just wanted, if you can hear me, I wanted to make sure, I just want to acknowledge that Genevieve Esquera is with us today as our designee VPS, acting VPSS, while Marciano's on vacation. So we do have representation there. Thank you to Dottie and Leslie representing Student Health Services, Mental Health. They're here as well. And I see some other folks. Dr. Armstrong, always thank you for being here and being with us. Can't do it without you all. And Caesar and Luke, thank you very much. I know that we also want to talk about our new, and Jeannie, thank you very much for your insight as well. And I do want to also mention at some point about the Student Campus Ready. So we can move to that at some point. But yes, I think this week, Dr. Shabazz had asked John to please review a little bit more on the HERF funds, because they are all COVID related. They're about where are we, and maybe you're even wondering, I put in a CARES request. Where did it go? What happens to it? That type of stuff. John won't really address all of those, but at least he'll address where the funding is and how to follow. Thanks, John.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Tilly. I'll share my screen here. You see me appear twice because I'm working on two different laptops. So if this looks familiar, this is the HERF presentation that has been distributed to the campus on a couple of occasions. This one is slightly different. We have additional funding sources on here. We'll see, I'm reading across from the first column to the left is our MSI one. We have two different MSIs. Excuse me, I just need to get out of the screen because it's confusing. I'll leave it here. This is better. We have two MSIs, MSI one, and the third column over is MSI two. MSI is minority services. Those are supplemental HERF funds in addition to HERF 1, 2, and 3. HERF 1, actually, deadline has passed in June, beginning of June. We're now on to HERF 2 and HERF 3. We also have a state block grant that was extended. That was originally a part of HERF 1. Now that we have HERF 2 and 3, it was extended to the June deadline, June 2022 deadline. And we just recently received in the last week or two, Senate Bill 85 relief fund for student enrollment and retention. So with these various funds, you can see in some cases we have less than 1 year. For MSI 1, until May 2022. For HERF 2 and MSI 2, we have until March 2022, and the remaining sources are due in June. Time will fly, believe me. What we do not want is a repeat of HERF 1, where we're down to the 11th hour, the last week, the last month, and we're feverishly trying to spend these funds down. It creates a strain on our already limited resources. So in order to help obviate such a situation or a repeat, we'll be reviewing these at the cabinet level, the balances on a weekly basis. I will be reviewing with budget managers on a monthly basis, as we currently do with GFU and restricted funds. We will also include HERF funds. Again, that's what the budget managers do in our monthly budget manager meeting. And also we would like to, I'm going to scroll down to the request form to reinforce, we still need to submit the HERF request form, the revised HERF request form, which is now the one pager that is routed through to VPs and then to me, and I will code it with the respective GL budget stream once I approve it and send it back to the requestor and the VP. And we must comply with item number 7. Our request must follow the purchasing and procurement process. Unauthorized purchases will be the responsibility of the requestor and or the department. I've received a lot of requests and clarification regarding eligible expenses. And between HERFs 1 and 3, HERFs 3 may be a little more lax, since it's expected that most institutions of higher learning will be back to in-person classes in fall. And I'll discuss one of those salient changes, but first and foremost, HERF funds are to cover eligible expenses incurred as a result of significant changes in instructional delivery due to COVID. What has not been a significant change, right? So that includes the bullet points on the left under eligible expenses. I will add that capital improvement, which is now a prohibited expense on the right, capital improvement to building facilities, and in particular HVAC, is now allowed only under HERF 3, which is why it's not under eligible expenses for HERF 2, and maybe I should put an asterisk or parentheses for HERF 3 only for those eligible expenses. However, those requests must be approved by the Department of Education via request through me. If it's anything related to capital improvements, facilities, HVAC, I must send a request to the Department of Education, and upon approval, we may solicit quotes if required. Any questions from the committee? Anything you'd like me to clarify? I'll look at a couple of the chat questions here.
Okay, John, you see those questions? There's a couple of
So MSI 2, March 23. How could the deadline be for, was there a March 23 on there? I'm not sure what that question is referring to for MSY. I'm showing for MSI 1 is, or MSI 2 is March of 22, MSI 1 is May. So to answer this question, I think what they're saying is how's the MSI 2 before MSI 1? MSI 1 is was an automatic extension from HERF's institutional one, where MSI 2 may be extended to March 23. That's if there is another HERFs. If there's not another HERFs, it's going to expire a year after HERF's institutional one was received, which is March 2022. I hope that makes sense. And so the year being March 2020. Oh, sorry, since we received it in March 2021, the year for that would expire in March 2022. That's not to say we won't receive another HERFs. I don't think we will, but the same logic would apply to the MS1 if there were an extension. I hope that answered that question. Any other questions from the team regarding HERF funds? I have been sending out award letters, as you may have seen, to deans and managers only. So please share with your groups. If you have not received yet, it is forthcoming. I've sent out 40 plus for all of the HERFs institution, which include 1 and 2. However, I have not sent out for MSI 1, so those are due. In addition, there are a few with HERFs institution 1 and 2 that I need to clarify with the searching deans and VPs of who should receive those award letters. Marciano and I are working on MSI 2. That allocation has not been established yet. So those award letters will be going out probably in the next 2 weeks or so. So again, if you have not received, please be patient. They will be going out by tomorrow, the remaining HERFs award letters. I have received a couple of notes where I may have sent it to the wrong dean. And if you have not received yours, and you were copied on it and you have not received it, it is forthcoming.
John, I just wanted to emphasize that that some of the things you mentioned about making sure we spend the money in a timely manner as well. I mean, people have needs, and I'll just put it the best way I can, and that is that we have the funding, and sometimes it's just sitting there. Somebody might be waiting, like just say for me. Well, we've already said it in many places where the money's been allocated, and people do still have to come back and ask. I mean, if you have a class that's being, I'm talking about instruction now, that is COVID related, and it's going to be, needs to go because of low enrollment, is that where we can use some of the funding from Hard to Convert? Absolutely. But I can't oversee every single one of those. So you all have to be that responsible person to come forward and say, I'm going to put in a CARES request. What's the worst that can happen? We can't fund it, or we're going to have to find a different way. So please, and the CARES requests are necessary.
Yes.
For Don's office to follow and track the money, right?
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Tilly. In order to track and report and analyze expenses and to ensure we're in compliance with our auditors and Department of Education auditing standards, that's important for us, that redundancy. And we do appreciate everyone's patience. I can tell you with these funds, we have $11.5 million to spend in a year between all of these funds. $11.5 million is a lot of money. It requires a lot of managing and resources. Managing these HERF funds alone should require 2 FTE. Business Services has assumed these responsibilities with our already limited resources. So we're doing the best that we can to fulfill everyone's request and to prioritize accordingly. But if there's a lag or a delay, please don't hesitate to send us an email after a reasonable time. And if we need to reprioritize, as we have in certain instances, we will do so. But thanks everyone for their patience.
Thank you, John. Thanks for sharing.
You bet. Thank you.
So I also had listed on our follow-up today was also about PPE, as people are starting to come back and they're looking for that personal protective equipment.
Mhm.
You know, when we were first sent home, we had a different notion. I can remember, Dottie, the first time I had heard social distancing, and we were all like, social distancing, way back in February of 2020, and just having those conversations. So I know, like yourself, Dottie and Dee, are very comfortable with PPE and that kind of language, but over the last year and a half, people have now become accustomed to now know what PPE is, but what does that mean, right? What does that mean for you? What does it mean for coming back to work? What does it look like? What do we have on the campus? What can we offer? So Dottie, if you want to jump in there too.
Yes, so I agree, Tilly. I think until the pandemic, it was only just nurse and doctor speak. But it's PPE stands for personal protective equipment. So again, your workplace provides a safe place for you, whether that's in the hospital or an ambulatory care clinic or wherever. And then based on your duties, you put on your person protective equipment as needed for your job duties. It dates back to the very early parts of the pandemic where Roxanne, before John Parker was here, absolutely laid in a stockpile of it for the campus. Student health services, it's just, sorry, haven't called it that in a long time. The Student Health Center has also gotten a significant supply of PPE for us to use for students that come in that are ill. And so it generally includes masks, gloves, eye goggles as appropriate, yellow gowns, booties for your feet, hairnets, those kinds of things. So you need to put on personal protective equipment based on the job you're doing and what you're being exposed to. So if it is a germ that is spread in bathrooms, sort of fecally, orally, you don't necessarily need a mask to do that kind of thing, but you need long gloves and other equipment to keep you safe. Obviously, COVID is spread respiratorily via aerosol transmission. And so you know to be wearing masks. And folks should know that while the vaccine is extremely effective, it's not 100%. Nothing in this world is. And so you determine, based on your personal history, your risks for disease, your personal situation, the additional layers of protection you want to put on yourself above and beyond vaccination. That means that in the clinic, and again, the district has mandated that we will be masking because we don't know who has been vaccinated, who hasn't. So we will be masking. Will there be times maybe in the clinic where we are double masking if we have a student that really believes they have COVID? Perhaps. And we will be wearing gloves so that, again, that contact spread of COVID is minimal, but we will be wearing gloves. The frequent washing of hands, hand hygiene. But again, the PPE refers to the things that you put on your body to prevent you from the way the germ is spread.
Thank you. With that being said, and Dr. Armstrong, did you want to add anything?
Not at this,
I think you went on mute, sorry.
I said, not at this time. I think Dottie did a great job. A+ Dottie.
Thank you. So then, John, can you help us to, I'll just ask those kind of questions that you get every day. And you and I know the answers, but I'm sure somebody out there is still asking that same question. So I'm going to be coming back to my office next week. What PPE do you have to offer me and how do I get a hold of it?
The PPE that we have to offer are the masks. Obviously, we have N95 masks, We have special city, custom city branded masks that we recently received. We have a replete inventory of hand sanitizer. We have wipes, gloves, shields, gowns. Now, the shields and gowns, we have a limited supply because those are not required. Those will primarily be for the Student Health Center and perhaps a nursing program and the likes. How do you request and receive those? You can send them to Business Services, to Dina and I. And one thing, my last communication, I think I mentioned that continue to send the request to us. I mentioned that we would schedule for pickup and or delivery of these items, and it's just become a little overwhelming in scheduling various pickup dates and times. So Dina has created, she's working on an event program to conduct an administrative services open house for PPE kit and pickup and general purpose PPE requests as well. We're looking at 2 days at the beginning of August, whereby we will conduct the open house right in our T building corridor in that hallway there between Business Services and Mail Services. And we will be providing both the PPE kits for the return to campus, which will include the personal hand sanitizers, some swag to include masks and any remaining t-shirts for those who come first. And catalogs, we'll also have the campus catalogs, and we'll have key requests forms, access forms, and we'll have people available to answer questions or provide additional resources during this open house. So dates will be forthcoming. Outside of those 2 days, if say for instance no one can make those 2 days or send a representative, we'll actually schedule a delivery or pickup outside of those 2 days. So we'll always have PPE available. We just ordered more. Roxanne did a wonderful job last year in stocking us up, and I think we're in pretty good shape for return.
Can you repeat those dates?
In August, you mean the 2 days? We haven't decided on the dates yet. The communication will be forthcoming.
Okay. And then I think Dottie wanted to add something too.
Yes, Dr. Parker, you made me think of something. You mentioned shields. And folks, we've all been to the supermarket and seen someone wearing a shield for however they felt, that whether they were claustrophobic with a mask or whatever. Know that the shields are primarily meant in healthcare to protect you from splashes of blood, of sputum, of other bodily fluids. They're perhaps better than nothing, but they are not as good as a mask. And so why am I saying that? So that you don't request shields and use them up when they are needed in other areas for medical tasks. And the same goes with yellow gowns from shoulder to floor. Those would not be required in a standard office or classroom setting. So putting yourself in a big hefty bag from head to toe may feel better, but we really need to allocate the real resources as indicated by how the germ is spread and by who needs it the most.
And that's a good point, Dottie. Hence why I mentioned Student Health Center and our allied health program. So we'll be judicious in those requests, but it's primarily for those purposes.
Thank you, John. And I appreciate that you had put it out there that we have a key request, all those things. I also noticed something in the chat as well about the air conditioning. Is the air conditioning request does that come along on form stack when somebody's in the office? And if it's not on, who do they contact?
Yes, it should be. And that's one of the purposes of the form stack. So we know to go in and sanitize the area, turn on the HVAC based on the times that are input into the form. If for some reason it is not turned on, or you go in, I've seen a request to have sanitation come in or custodial come in and empty waste bags. There, people come back to ants in their office. I'm one of them, actually. I haven't come back, but since I've been there, I've seen an increase in ants now, as in a couple of offices. Send me a quick email and I route it through Jay, and then he escalates it through HVAC.
Okay. The other question along with that, since we were talking, it's not PPE, but and you got me thinking about it, is now that people are coming back into other new spaces they haven't been into a while. And this is a question that we've had from the beginning, I think, and that is, I know you don't have a ton of people, but it's going to take time to get there. Will we be having the opportunity to have paper towels in the restrooms? And maybe we identify which are the most high use restrooms initially to kind of help you out with that. It's just a thought.
Yes, another very auspicious question, timing wise anyhow. Jay and I were just discussing yesterday, amongst other things. We should be receiving, we did order the motion sensor dispensers for the paper rolls, and 49 have been shipped, and they should be received between today and tomorrow. How we're prioritizing installations, we won't be removing the air dryers. However, we'll keep them in there, and we'll add the motion sensor paper towel rolls or dispensers, if you will. In terms of prioritizing, Jay and his team, they'll prioritize. I really don't know the layouts of the buildings, but it'll be the high traffic areas where we're expecting the highest population now, between now and return. If by chance anyone's on campus and after, I would say give it a week. All right, so that they may come between today and tomorrow. It'll take about a week to get those installed, to get them up and get them installed.
Thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.
I think now we can probably, let's see what else we have in the chat. I know we had some outstanding questions that Luke had put in there for us.
Yeah, there was a question about volunteers. Will departments be able to use assistance of volunteers who have been approved this fall 22-21? Can they be on campus?
I'm going to say, John, we now have an answer, and we have, I think, we have a process, right?
Yes, we do have a process. I can put the link in the chat again. There's a volunteer form that must be completed and forwarded to risk management. I would forward it to business services or to risk management and copy business services. I believe those instructions are on that form. I have to revisit it, but I'll post the link to the form that's on the district website in the chat again.
And maybe, Caesar, we can include that somewhere, wherever we're putting the videos, etc.
There we go. No, I've sent that to just the panelists. Sorry. Go ahead, Tilly.
Dottie.
Can I answer the question that Jeannie posted in the chat? Are face shields an acceptable alternative to face masks while indoors on campus? No. Simple answer. CDC, you can go on there right now, which I just did and verified. CDC states that shields are primarily used to protect the user, the person's eyes and mucous membranes from splashes coming in. Again, you can just tell from looking at a face shield, it doesn't function in the same way to contain your breath. So no, it's not an acceptable alternative from the CDC, and from a health perspective and the way the bug is transmitted, no.
So I'm going to come back to, and just the volunteers are permitted. I just kind of want to make sure people get that answer, and there's a process for us to follow up on that. And
Do we have another question? Business services receiving, let's see. Business services is receiving requests from students to conduct use space on campus for their activities. What is the policy?
The policy right now is it'll be discussed and approved at the campus executive cabinet level. I know that at the district executive cabinet level, they will be discussing at their next meeting, civic center activities on campus. That has not been decided. But for student activities, particularly indoor, I don't think there would be a problem outdoor. We haven't had that discussion yet. But for indoor and outdoor, we will be discussing at our next meeting next week.
And if I can add in there, John, too, if I've heard correctly, and this is just because what we're doing, we have a math jam coming up, right, Luke, in August. And any of those activities, any activity, you're having somebody come and visit from the outside. They want to tour the area and stuff. Those require a plan that goes through risk management. You know, that how it's going to happen, where they're going to be received, that everything still requires a plan. And not asking you to give us a plan of every day that you walk in, because that's form stack. But especially, and then if we have vendors, right, we're also working on creating a separate form stack for vendors that are coming on campus and stuff like that too. So I hope that answers that question. When I heard student activities, I'm thinking, okay, we also have to have a plan. What does that mean? What does it look like? Where are they going to gather? What's the space? What's the capacity? What's the hand washing situation, masking, all of that type of stuff is what's needed in there. So is that answer that question, Jeannie? A little bit more of what you're asking?
Sure. Yeah, it's helpful. And yeah, thank you for the responses. It'll continue to be discussed. I just felt for the business services office who said that they were already receiving the requests, and like, what do I tell the students?
Sure. I also saw a question, a follow-up about the mask, about students that need to read lips, or so I will just share with you from the VPIs that we have had. I meet with all the VPIs on a weekly basis, and I think it's at Mesa, they're having their foreign language classes face-to-face. And one of the issues that they had was, how do they have a foreign language class when it's hard to be able to see and, you know, be able to visualize in some of the other classes. So they have, they're working on those, not the face shields, Dottie. They're working on masks that have that cutout so that people can see the mouth and the lips and stuff like that.
I knew nothing about those, Tilly, and hopefully Bree Kennedy will also know more. But I certainly don't know anything about those or how to choose the best ones that will allow lip reading and more, you know, keep you protected. So yeah, I don't know about that. Thank you.
That may be ongoing and things that we just start looking, and hey, if somebody out there, get a patent on it. And
you know what, Bree mentioned that DSPS has clear masks available, so they've been purchased.
Thank you. Thank you, Bree. Saves the day. So while we're talking about masks, if that's okay, I know time goes very quickly. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. Thank you, Dottie, for kind of bringing us to reality as we need that, right? To know what's happening in the world. And every day is a different day. So as from instruction, what I said in College Council on Tuesday was I really would ask that deans and chairs really work with faculty. And if we need to come up with a statement, a standard statement to help, that would be something that offers masks are required while we're indoors. And that would help you in your syllabi to have that. And we're working on language of how do you work through, and Leslie, and I'll ask you maybe if you want to talk about what you guys are working on that script piece of, you know, what's coming, or it's just a group is getting together. I think it's later today anyways, right? They haven't probably met, of trying to help us. I need to know, like, can I have a script to tell me, how do I approach somebody that I see, you know, dear Dr. Armstrong, I saw you come into the classroom and you had your mask on and now you don't have it on. You know, how do you work your way through that? So one of the things that we're thinking about is letting students know there's going to be signs everywhere that says that masks are required. that might be something that's very helpful. The other piece is to think about also is I want to thank all faculty and staff. Everybody's been so nimble during this time and just trying to get through every day. And I'm going to ask again that we keep being there, that while we're having some face-to-face, some hybrid classes, there may be a time, as always has been stated before, that we're asked during a certain time to not be on campus. I'm not saying that's happening, not whatsoever, but I'm just saying to please keep that in your syllabi, that things could change, and to be flexible, to know that we might have to change for a week and be online. So keep that in mind. You might want to add that to your syllabus as well. That's all I had for instruction on those pieces. Other questions, Caesar?
I don't see any other questions here. And a reminder, please, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. I could talk a little bit just about the signage that's up on campus. So thank you to Genevieve and Luke's team. Campus Ready signage is up. Share what. So this is what the signage looks like. It just has some of the protocols that we should follow while on campus. All must wear masks, social distancing when appropriate, wash your hands frequently, and stay home if you're sick. And it also has a QR code to the campus's webpage on information for COVID protocols and such. And then Luke, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the welcome centers.
Yeah. So we're going through the process. We have a couple more folks that we're going to be hiring in the near future as far as Nance. But yeah, we're getting everything ready. We've actually had some really successful interactions on campus when we were actually hanging up signage. So I think there's definitely a need for that and for that support. So we've definitely had some success in that. But yeah, we are getting ready, getting all our protocol. A big thank you to Dr. Parker. We had some folks on campus today for a tour, and so the PPE is there and available for us. So I think it's just a matter of, when we take that step. But I think the welcome centers are going to be a great resource for students, and we're in the process of also training up the folks that are going to be working those welcome centers. So if you want to come and speak to our folks to provide any level of insight or support for them so we can better get students to your department, program, or service, we would love to welcome you to one of our staff meetings. That would be something we would definitely welcome. So I don't know if Dean Esquerra has anything, but I would say welcome centers, I believe, will be ready. So thank you.
Genevieve, did you want to add anything?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. I think one thing that I have mentioned in the past is that the welcome centers will have all the signage for the campus ready, making sure that students know and visitors know that masks are required when indoors. We'll have masks and hand sanitizers and information about student services that are available in person on campus. As the weeks go on. So just a hub for folks to come if they have questions, to see a friendly face. People haven't been to campus in such a long time. So we're expecting that folks will see it, come, say hello, have questions, and then that will be able to help and triage them and move them along to where they need to go as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So those are in the works and in the plans. So
thank you. And I have two follow-up questions for Luke or Genevieve on that. And that is, so I know several Jeannie's on campus, people are on campus. I was there on Monday and Tuesday, and Monday we had people knocking on our door, and they're just wanting help. They're walking around the campus to see who's there, anywhere they can walk in. And they just were looking for how to register, what classes should I be taking? And poor Luke, because he gave me his cell number, I just text him with everybody's information that I gather. But is there ways and places where we can start to tell people where to find you and how to get that information? I know some of us said, let's go to the website, let's find where we need to go. And then when you're in a hurry, you can't locate that information. So Luke, I didn't know if there's something we could do.
Yeah, I think so. A huge thank you to Kim and Caesar. We do have these little business cards, and maybe we can start distributing them to all the different folks on campus, where it has like a first step and has our phone number as well as the website. And honestly, if you pick up and you call them between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., someone will pick up the call. So I think that would be a great first step. And then we also say you can text it as well. So if someone feels more comfortable texting, we can shoot them that information via text as well. So I think that would be a great first step. But I can definitely work on getting that content printed, and maybe we can work on some signage for like doors and stuff like that. We can definitely do that.
And maybe we could use FormStack to let you know who's here and where people, might need this.
Absolutely.
And so that was one issue. The other one I had is, since we're talking about students, and I'm just so impressed with our enrollment management committee team. We met a week ago, and a big shout out to Susanna Kennemer, who just asked a simple question, and she was listening to the things that we're offering. And this particular session is a Campus Ready. And we're talking about different issues with students and how do we help, because Luke can't do it all by himself, right? We all having to help them together. And her question was, the Campus Ready Zooms that we do once a week, can we not start offering that to students? A different Zoom, a student Campus Ready. And so I've met briefly with Luke, and so we're going to try to start getting that ready, especially as our student services are on campus next week, and that might be helpful for like admissions or financial aid to help students, and that's what they're after, right? So they even know who's here. So maybe a 30-minute session, and Luke, maybe next week you can give us an update on where we are on the Campus Ready for students. So I just wanted to acknowledge Susanna and Luke and everybody who's going to help out on that type of stuff. We are here to serve those students, right? So it'd be helpful to get them up on board. That's all I have for myself. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see any more questions. Cool. Any other comments, or Tilly, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, I saw a question in there if we should just offer the Zoom to students and employees. And I really kind of feel that they're a little bit different. I feel that students, if they receive the Google form to add questions, they may be a little bit different and focused a little differently. They may actually tend to merge at some point, but I think initially, and probably only a 30-minute session for students, this might be a little too overwhelming. It's this much time. So for now, I would say at least initially to get them back. I'm not sure. I'm having questions whether students need help uploading their information, their clearance information, or even just what to do. Did I really sign up for a face-to-face, or am I supposed to be online? I don't, those are questions that sometimes students think that they have it down, and they don't want to get it wrong. So they're just looking for assistance.
Tilly, you spoke to the flexibility that's been demonstrated by everybody since the lockdown, and I would just like to encourage the idea that that's going to be needed for quite a while. Given the Delta variant, I think that it's wiser to plan in your head that I think, as maybe Dr. Parker mentioned, that a pivot may be necessary. And based on Los Angeles needing to change things over the weekend and what we know about the transmissibility of this variant, I just think both of those points about a possible pivot needed and flexibility, I think would be a good attitude to go into the fall with.
Thank you. I like that. And I think there was one more question in the chat. Did I miss it?
Let's see. Ashley's requesting if you could get a weekly email updates of the changes that are happening example, going to split schedules, sanitize in between, or social distancing or not, just so we're on the same page.
So I'll give a response on that one. And that's what we're here for today on these weekly videos. And the reason I say that is we're trying to avoid putting people in email jail. And it changes so quickly. I would also work with your manager and your dean because it really depends on your area. Where Leslie and Dottie work, the types of precautions that they may take and restrictions are so much different than what we might have in a classroom setting, so to speak, right? And so they're not going to be identical, so we may not be on the same page. And then as things change, you'll hear that out in the world, they say there's no social distancing. Well, on our campus, we have opted to continue to try and social distance when we can. And so that has not changed. Split schedules that I know of, John, really, those are kind of gone by the wayside. It's really dependent on you and your area and your manager, right? And how it
Correct.
depends on the space and how it's needed.
Yes.
I'm trying to answer the question as best I can, but it's going to be difficult for everyone. It's different. Do you want to take that, John?
Yes, no more AB. That's one of the changes to the reopen plan was the split shift schedule and I believe at the time it was Wednesday and then it changed to Friday for the deep cleaning day. Those are no longer. It's just really incumbent on the department managers, deans, and VPs to determine the schedule between now and September 20th.
And I see a follow-up question about a newsletter, keeping us, updated. No problems there. Just know that by the time it gets sent, it's probably changed. But, you may be chasing old emails, but we can certainly see what we can do. Caesar, maybe we can bring that to exec cab and have that conversation next week of updates. Anyone else want to provide an update for this week?
I think we're good. Good job, Tilly. Thank you. You're on mute. I'm sorry.
Thank you. In that case, we're going to give you all 4 minutes back to your day. Enjoy and enjoy the beautiful sticky weather we're having.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye-bye.